Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple share milestone first date. Golden Bachelorette couple Joan Vassos and Chock Chapple had spent the last few months keeping their engagement a secret. Now that the season finale has aired, they are free to be public with their romance. They shared one of their first public dates with fans. Keep reading for all the details. Chock Chapple shares apartment hunting update. Joan Vassos had one restriction on finding love on reality TV. She said she would never move away from her kids and grandkids in Maryland. However, she compromised after getting engaged to Chock Chapple. She's not moving to his home state of Kansas. They will split their time between Maryland and the Midwest. The couple revealed plans to get a place together in New York City where they can spend time together throughout the year. They set off to the Big Apple a few days after the Golden Bachelorette finale aired. Chock took to his Instagram story after they arrived to share an update on how apartment hunting was going. He shared a pic of Joan intently looking at her phone. "So many apartments to look at, and so little time," he captioned the snapshot. Joan Vassos and fiancé go on first date. One of the reasons they only had a little time to look for apartments was because they had a first date planned. In a joint Instagram post, the Golden Bachelorette couple revealed that they attended their first movie together in public. What did they see? They went to see the new Wicked movie starring Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. Bachelor Nation fans who tuned in to Gen Tran's season of The Bachelorette saw ABC heavily promote the movie. Jen even went on a Wizard of Oz-themed date that included appearances by franchise alums Trista Sutter, Kelsey Anderson, Daisy Kent, and more. Joan and Chock's social media followers adored the glimpse into their dating life after the show. One fan had some advice to share. They wrote, "Keep strong, you two. Communicate constantly and always put you two first before anyone." Another added, "Having fun and falling in love looks good on you both." Keep an eye on Joan Vassos' Instagram to see what other first adventures she has with her fiancé while in New York City. Joan Vassos stood in front of her mirror, smoothing the fabric of her sapphire blue dress for what felt like the 100th time. The nerves bubbling in her chest were a strange mix of anticipation and excitement. It had been years since she had gone on a first date. This one, however, felt different, special. Chock Chapple wasn't like anyone she had ever met. He was witty, charming, and above all, seemed to genuinely see her for who she was. Chock, meanwhile, was equally nervous. He adjusted his tie in his car's rearview mirror, muttering under his breath, "It's just dinner, Chock. Relax. Be yourself." But even as he spoke the words, his heart thudded with a rhythm that betrayed his cool demeanor. Joan Vassos had a presence that could command a room, and yet she carried herself with a disarming warmth. He wasn't about to let this evening go awry. The two had met serendipitously at a charity gala 6 weeks earlier. Joan, a successful art curator, had been hosting an exhibit showcasing local artists, while Chock, a financial advisor with a secret passion for painting, had attended with a client. They had struck up a conversation over hors d'oeuvres, discovering their shared love of art, jazz, and an irrational distaste for licorice. By the end of the evening, Chock had boldly asked for her number, and Joan, surprising even herself, had given it to him without hesitation. Tonight was their first official date. Chock had chosen La Fiamma, an intimate Italian bistro tucked away on a quiet street downtown. The restaurant was known for its candlelit ambience and hand-rolled pasta. As Joan stepped inside, she was greeted by the soft glow of flickering candles and the warm aroma of garlic and basil. Chock was already there, standing by their table. When their eyes met, his face lit up with a smile that made her stomach flutter. "You look stunning," he said, pulling out her chair. "Thank you," Joan replied, her cheeks warming. "You clean up pretty well yourself." The waiter arrived with menus and water, giving them a moment to settle in. Conversation flowed effortlessly between them as they debated the merits of risotto versus gnocchi and reminisced about their favorite meals from childhood. Joan told a story about her grandmother's legendary moussaka, while Chock admitted he had once tried to make tiramisu and ended up with a bowl of indible mush. They decided to share a bottle of Chianti, its rich, velvety notes perfectly complementing the mood of the evening. Over antipasto and bruschetta, Joan found herself laughing more than she had in months. Chock had a knack for storytelling, his anecdotes full of self-deprecating humor and vivid details. She could see the kindness in his eyes, the way he leaned forward slightly, genuinely engaged in their conversation. When the main courses arrived, Joan's saffron risotto and Chock's osso buco, they fell into a comfortable rhythm of sharing bites and swapping stories. Joan marveled at how easy it was to talk to him. He didn't just listen, he understood, asking thoughtful questions and sharing his own insights. She found herself opening up about her work, her dreams, even her fears. "I've always admired people who can create something from nothing," Chock said as he twirled his fork in his pasta. "That's why I love painting. It's messy and unpredictable, but it feels honest." "Do you paint often?" Joan asked, intrigued. "Not as much as I like," he admitted. "It's more of a hobby now, something I do when I need to clear my head." "I'd love to see your work sometime," Joan said, surprising herself with her boldness. Chock's grin widened. "Only if you promise to give me your unfiltered critique." "Deal." "Deal," she replied, raising her glass. By the time dessert arrived, a shared plate of tiramisu, it felt as though they had known each other for years. They lingered over the final bites, reluctant to let the evening end. Joan noticed the way Chock's fingers brushed hers when he passed her a fork, the way his eyes seemed to search hers as if he were memorizing every detail. After dinner, Chock suggested a walk. The night air was crisp but not cold, and the city lights twinkled like scattered stars. They strolled down cobblestone streets, their conversation shifting to lighter topics, favorite movies, guilty pleasure songs, and the worst hairstyles they'd ever had. As they turned a corner, they stumbled upon a street performer playing the saxophone. The smooth, soulful notes filled the air, creating a moment so perfect it felt cinematic. Without thinking, Chock extended a hand. "Care to dance?" he asked. Joan hesitated for only a second before taking his hand. They swayed together under the streetlight, the music wrapping around them like a warm embrace. Joan laughed as Chock spun her gently, her heels clicking against the pavement. "You're not half bad," she teased. "Years of practice," Chock replied with a wink. "You should see me at weddings. I'm unstoppable." As the song ended, they stood close, the world around them fading into a blur. Joan could feel the warmth of his hand against her back, the steady rhythm of his breathing. For the first time in a long while, she let herself be present, fully immersed in the moment. When Chock walked her to her car, the night felt far too short. They stood there, neither wanting to say goodbye. Chock shifted slightly, his hands in his pockets. "I had a great time tonight," he said, his voice soft but sincere. "Me too," Joan replied, her smile matching his. Chock hesitated for a fraction of a second before leaning in. The kiss was gentle, a sweet punctuation to an unforgettable evening. When they pulled away, Joan felt her heart racing. "Can I call you tomorrow?" Chock asked. "I'd like that," Joan said, her smile widening. As she drove home, Joan couldn't stop replaying the night in her mind. It wasn't just the dinner or the dancing or even the kiss. It was the way she felt, seen, valued, and, for the first time in ages, hopeful. Chock, too, couldn't help but smile as he drove back to his apartment. This wasn't just a first date. It was the beginning of something extraordinary. And neither of them could wait to see where it would lead. Let me know if you want any tweaks or additional details added to this story.